Andrew, I sent you over a script. It's a movie I'm working on, and I'd like for you to consider you for one of the parts, okay? The scene is the aliens have arrived, the world may be ending, and you are the first to see them, okay? I want you to read one line at a time. I'm going to direct you, okay? First line, I want you to read it with great passion, great passion. You're in the scene. All right, ready? And the first line, and action.
The aliens are here.
Let's try the second line. Okay, the second line now is with fear.
I'm scared.
Now let's read both of them together. Ready? And...
The aliens are here. I'm scared.
Wow. Now we can start the show. Welcome to another episode, Mostly True Alien Stories.
They're coming.
UFO sightings. Many Americans have wondered about the dangers of unknown objects.
In Mexico pulling back the curtain. We need to save ourselves.
So, as we always do, Andrew, we start with alien news and entertainment. What do you have for us this episode?
A huge fan of Jimmy Carter, former President Jimmy Carter.
Yeah, just passed away.
He just passed 100 years old, I think is what he was.
Crazy.
Yeah, died last month at the age of 100. But I didn't know this about former President Jimmy Carter. Off the record, his thoughts on UFOs and alien civilizations.
Is that right?
Yep.
He had an interest in it.
He thought, I think he just wanted to meet him.
Wanted to meet them.
Yeah, he said, the way I see it, there's nothing to fear. If there is life out there, we still are part of the same master plan. God's hands are big enough to hold us both.
So he had a passion for it. He had an interest. He has a belief in that, and but no secrets, nothing like he knows.
No, he didn't divulge any secrets that he saw them or met them or anything like that. So
God rest Jimmy
that's
Carter.
Cool, though.
Yeah, that is neat.
Also, a former defense official makes earth-shattering UFO revelation as unexplained drones leave millions on edge.
Who was this?
Former defense official.
Okay.
This is according to Fox News.
Anonymous?
So we know it's true.
Is it anonymous?
I don't think he's anonymous. So testimonial reports have exposed unidentified flying object sightings across the country amid the national attention. Now, this was released on what better day than Christmas Day to 2024 at 4 a.m. Eastern time. His name was Luis Elizondo.
Okay.
Elizondo, the former head of the Defense Department's Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program. Another witnesses testified before Congress last month about an alleged government group hiding the fact that we are not alone in the cosmos.
Okay, so but this guy's the head of that organization?
Yeah, it says he was the former head of the Defense Department's Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program.
And where is he now?
I think they killed him. No, he's I don't know what he's doing. He's probably working at Burger King or something. I don't know. He said he believes that we as Americans can handle the truth, and also believes that the world deserves the truth, urging Congress to enact legislation protecting whistleblowers too afraid to come forward.
Now, this is on the tails of the drone stuff happening?
Yeah, this is on the tails of the drone stuff happening.
And now he's coming out to say...
And now he's coming out to say this.
He knows what it is.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
Then it says, the other part of this article is kind of cool. It says a military-trained observer reported that he was camping alone in the mountain center in California in October when suddenly all natural outdoor-related noises went silent and the entire area lit up brighter than the brightest full moon he had ever seen, according to the UFO reporting site. The man said he saw a bright, white, oval light that was 20 to 30 feet long, hovering above the treetops, adding that the light remained completely still and noiseless, emitted no heat, and resembled a large helicopter. And when Louise, the former head of the Defense Department's Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program, that's a long, they need to...
But there wasn't Louise that witnessed this.
No, it wasn't Louise, but he read all these reports. Yeah, he got several reports. And with that, that's making him say, hey, guys, come on. Let's start talking about this for real. And let's stop calling people crazy that think that they saw it. I think that's one of the things that I've noticed in all of this is that they're labeled. People that see UFOs are labeled as crazy. And that's why they're afraid to come out, because they don't want to be ridiculed.
You think? I think more and more people don't mind reporting that stuff now. I think it's not so crazy. It may have been crazy,
back in the 50s.
Even 10 years ago.
Right.
But I think as recent as 5 years, I don't think you're crazy. I mean, I think you have to report it. I think if I saw a UFO, I can't wait to tell somebody.
Would you tell me?
Yeah, I would tell you. I would tell my friends.
Even me, the non-believer?
Because I want to get your take on it. I want to see if you say I'm crazy.
Oh.
Uh,
Could I scream lines at you? Like, you're out of order. You're insane. You're crazy.
you need me on that wall.
You hide behind the very truth that...
Listeners, if you see a UFO, please report it. And especially maybe call us. I'd love to know.
let us know. We'll go there.
Yeah.
We've got a small budget. We can do that.
Yeah, don't be afraid to report it. I won't think you're crazy. Andrew may.
I will.
Yeah. All right, what
I'll
else?
call the state hospital. I love alien movies. I've talked to you about this on many levels. I love Aliens. I love Predator.
Sure.
But I want to talk about a classic film from 1982. Created by John Carpenter, who the originator of Halloween. He did a remake of the 1950s The Thing with Kurt Russell. So if you haven't seen this movie, go watch it. It's on Prime Video.
Now, I heard this was well done.
Freaking amazing. Oh, what I love about it is the whole setup that they have, because this thing can actually take the form of anything, can take the form of you. You could be talking to the thing right now. Right now. I feel
like I am talking to the thing. How would you know if he is the thing? How did you want to ruin it?
Did?
Are these spoilers? We doing spoilers?
We're going to do spoilers. I mean, come on. The movie came out in 1982. If you haven't seen it by now.
Right. Well, that 82 with Kurt Russell.
82 with Kurt Russell.
But because the original thing came out in the 50s.
Yeah, it came out in the 50s. So they did this experiment, right? They took everybody's blood because the blood is alive. And so they were in Antarctica and they found a ship. And on the ship, they found this thing.
Hey, you know what? There's a reason why a lot of stories start in Antarctica. There's something going on there.
I think it was a penguin gone bad. Did you ever see the penguins of Madagascar? Those were bad penguins. Bad penguins.
Wow.
So if you haven't seen The Thing, watch it because it is so intense.
So that's this week's recommendation from you.
That's this week's recommendation. Go and watch for movies to watch. Yeah, I think that'll be really cool. And then I'm going to briefly mention Paradise that's coming out. Begins on Hulu on January the 28th. There's going to be more about that, so we'll report more about that later on.
Okay, right now we're recording this on January 26th. This episode probably won't. It'll be by the time this comes out, that will be out.
So watch it.
Yeah.
So if you're listening, watch it.
Okay.
I like it. So David Bowie was a believer of extraterrestrials.
You know, I've heard this.
Yeah, he had several UFO experiences.
That's what drugs will do to you, man. You know?
He did this article, and it was written by a gentleman's last name was Stein. Stein quoted Bowie as saying he has a metal pin in his body and added that the musician revealed he worked with an English UFO magazine. Bowie said he witnessed significant UFO activity from an observatory up to 7 times a night over the course of a year. He explained the interaction between the craft, and it's frankly bonkers, he said. I used to work for 2 guys who put out a UFO magazine in England, and I made sightings 6 to 7 times a night for about a year when I was in the observatory. We had regular cruises that came over.
Wait, cruises? Like alien cruises? Alien ship cruises?
Would meet up with one another. Like the ships would meet up, he'd see them. They'd be stationary for about a half an hour. And then after verifying what they'd been doing that day, they'd shoot off.
So wait, this is Bowie.
This is David Bowie.
He was working for a magazine.
Yep. It was a friend of his magazine. And he said that he would go to this observatory. They were allowed to go up into this observatory. And he did this for a year.
But why would he go to the observatory? How did he what was he just like, hey, I need you to go out and find aliens?
his friend was like, hey man, I'm doing this UFO magazine. Can you help me out? He's like, sure. He's like, well, come with me up to this observatory.
And he had a natural inclination. He was interested in this kind of stuff. And he had experiences prior to this. And so they went up to this observatory and he's witnessing these alien cruise ships.
Then they would connect.
And this had nothing to do with the drugs.
Nothing to do with drugs. He doesn't mention that he was high or on anything. I think it's kind of cool that they would hook up, right? The ships would hook up. So they cruise up every night and they'd be like this, right?
Well,
And then they would sit there for
listener,
about
for
30
those
minutes.
of you who are not seeing the visuals, Andrew's holding his hands. His fingers are pointing towards each other, and he's just holding them
And then
like a...
they'd shoot off just like that.
They'd meet and then shoot off because they're so advanced in technology, but they had to get really close to talk. That was the last thing that they didn't invent that yet. But
they
then
were hard
away.
of they were hard of hearing. They were hard of hearing.
What do you suppose was going on? Did David say what he thought was going on? Does Bowie?
He said that they were transferring data, transferring information to each other.
They can fly light years away.
Yeah.
But they got to meet in California above the observatory, nose to nose, to transfer data. They couldn't figure that out.
Look, this happened in the 70s, so it was probably an older model ship. You know, they hadn't quite got the Bluetooth or the Wi-Fi down quite yet, is what I'm getting.
It makes me love Bowie even more.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Exactly. But he has a lot of different stories.
He does.
Yeah, he talked about another time he saw an object hovering over an English countryside, but later he determined it was not an object, but a doorway to another dimension.
Really? Wait a minute. What is it that why does he think that that's what that... This is just acid trips. This is good LSD.
Bowie didn't do acid.
Bowie? He made it in his basement.
He stopped all that after he met Iman, though. He didn't do drugs anymore.
When did the UFO reporting stop? About the same time?
Probably.
Anything else?
That's all I got for you.
Well, that was great. I loved the alien news and entertainment, but when you're done with alien news and entertainment, you know what that means.
That means it's story time.
It is story time, and as we always do, I tell the story of a reported alien encounter or happening or abduction that has been recorded in history, and you and I will weigh in on whether we believe it's mostly true or not. This is the Ariel School Encounter. It happened in Ruwa, Zimbabwe in 1994. Cool. Yeah, it's one of the most compelling UFO encounters in recent history. It's not just because of what happened, but because of who witnessed it, a group of school children. This isn't just a story of lights in the sky. It's a story that touches on fear, wonder, innocence, and a mystery that has gripped the minds of ufologists and skeptics alike for nearly 30 years. It's September 16th, 1994 in Ruwa, a small, tranquil farming village about 20 miles southeast of Harare, the capital of Zimbabwe. At the time, this part of Africa was known for its rolling fields, thick forests, and a sky so clear you could lose yourself just staring at the stars.
Wow.
Yeah, you get the setting? You understand this?
I got it.
Okay.
I'm there.
Okay. That morning, the sun rose over the Ariel School. It's a private elementary school with a playground surrounded by thick bushland. The air smelled of dry earth and freshly cut grass, typical of a late spring day in the southern hemisphere. By all accounts, it was a perfectly ordinary Friday morning, but by 10:15 a.m., that ordinary day was about to become anything but. At precisely 10:15 a.m., most of the 250 children at the Ariel School were inside the classrooms. They're focused on their studies. Teachers and staff were holding a meeting indoors, leaving only a few adults to supervise the 62 children playing outside on the schoolyard during recess. You have 250 kids inside, you got 62 outside. The teachers are in a meeting inside the school, and they just let the kids out with a couple of supervisors.
Yeah, what are they going to do? They're going to get eaten by a lion or whatever.
Right, in the middle of Africa.
Right.
Suddenly, a group of children spotted something unusual over the trees in the distance. One of them screamed, and others turned to look. Hovering just above the horizon, they saw what they later described as a silver disc darting silently through the air. As the object got closer, its movement became stranger. Witnesses said it moved erratically, zigzagging and stopping suddenly before descending into the brush about 100 meters beyond the edge of the playground. One witness described it as almost playing in the air, defying the laws of gravity. We hear that a lot about these ships, right? That just defying gravity.
Defying gravity, like Wicked.
Yeah. Then the unbelievable happened. Two small beings emerged from the brush near the object.
Okay.
They were described as having large, black, almond-shaped eyes, thin bodies and dressed in tight, shiny black clothing.
Ooh.
They're very stylish for that.
For the 90s. Yeah, that sounds very 90s.
They were about 1 meter tall, just over 3 feet, and seemed to glide rather than walk. Their heads were large, and their skin was smooth, almost featureless. And this wasn't just a fleeting glimpse. These children said they watched the beings for several minutes. So now you have all 62 kids in the middle of this countryside, rolling hills, private school, looking at these two beings that were coming towards them in a ship. Some of the kids were frozen in place, unable to look away. Others were terrified and began crying or screaming. A girl by the name of Cynthia Hind, who was 11 years old at the time, said she felt an overwhelming sense of dread and fear, as if the beings were peering into her soul.
Ew.
Another student by the name of Salma Siddiq said she was filled with an inexplicable sense of sadness. So they're experiencing two different things at the time.
Fear and sadness. The aliens are here. I'm scared.
Oh my God. You might get that part. Keep working on it.
I hope so.
Keep working on it.
I really need the money. I'm going to keep working on it.
All right. Several children described the beings as having communicated with them, but not through words. Instead,
Mentally.
They described a telepathic experience.
Probing of their brain. An uneasy pressure being built up inside their heads.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's funny you say that, because one of the boys said he felt a message being placed directly into his mind. The message, a warning.
Don't eat at Subway. No, sorry.
The beings seemed to express concern about humanity's destructive path, particularly regarding the environment.
Okay.
They came from light years away, and they decided to go to this private school with just little children. And
so in the kid's head, he heard, "Help Woodsy spread the word. Don't be a dirty bird in the city or in the woods. Help keep Africa looking good. Give a hoot, don't pollute." Got it. Go.
Back to the ship.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. So one girl said, "I just felt they were telling us we were doing harm to the planet. We need to stop." So a couple of these kids were having this same messages told. She said this thought came to her so strongly that it felt like her own, yet she was sure it wasn't. The children's descriptions were strikingly similar, even when they were separated and interviewed individually. Their accounts of the craft, the beings, and the telepathic messages were nearly identical. So now the teachers. Well, where the heck were the teachers, by the way?
Right. They were inside.
Yeah, exactly.
That's it.
It's some good Zimbabwe shit, man.
That's Jamaican, bro.
Oh, yeah, I can't do the act. Yeah. Those private schools.
They get everybody. I'll teach you from every. You know what? There probably was a teacher from Jamaica there. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I shouldn't have.
You were quick to judge me.
I was quick to judge, and that was wrong. And I apologize. If you're listening, I apologize.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Now, here's where it gets even more interesting. The adults at the school didn't witness the event directly. They were in a staff meeting time. When the kids ran inside screaming and crying, the teachers thought it was a prank or some overactive imaginations, but the sheer terror on the children's faces made them pause. These kids weren't just playing a joke. They were genuinely afraid. And then that afternoon, the school's headmistress, Mack, began interviewing the children. She separated them and asked each of them to draw what they had seen, and the results were chilling. Nearly every child drew the same thing, a saucer-like craft and humanoid figures with large black eyes. These drawings remain some of the most compelling evidence from the incident.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
Can you oh wow, look at your mug. That's interesting. For those of you that are just listening and not watching, Neal has an alien mug that has a large head with large black eyes. So any child knows that alien has a black shaped almond eyes. I mean, come on. And dressed as bad as Michael Jackson's Bad video is what it sounds like they were dressed as. But only 3 feet.
He's bad.
He's an alien. Woo!
Clean the environment. So anyway, the word quickly spread, and within days, local reporters and UFO investigators were on the scene. So one of the first investigators to arrive was this Cynthia Hind. a prominent Zimbabwean ufologist. Hind meticulously documented the incident, conducting interviews with the children and staff. But what truly elevated the Ariel School encounter to global prominence was the involvement of Dr. John Mack, Pulitzer Prize winning professor of psychiatry from Harvard University. Mack flew to Zimbabwe to personally interview the children, and what he found was remarkable. Let me just say, he was well known for his work studying alien abduction cases, and he said the children were incredibly sincere. Their emotions, their body language, it all suggested they were telling the truth. He believed they had experienced something extraordinary, though he stopped short of claiming it was definitively extraterrestrial. Mack famously said, "These are normal children. They have no reason to lie. Something happened to them, and we need to take that seriously." However, his involvement didn't come without controversy. The academic community criticized Mack for lending credibility to what they considered pseudoscience, but he remained steadfast in his belief that the children's accounts were genuine. So, interestingly, the Zimbabwean government largely avoided involvement in the incident, so they wanted nothing to do with it.
Yeah.
And unlike some UFO cases in the United States or the UK, there was no apparent military investigation, nor were there any attempts to debunk or cover up the event, at least not publicly. And as for the media coverage, it was sporadic. Local outlets initially ran with the story, but it gained significant traction only after Hind's report and Mack's involvement. So nearly 3 decades later, the Ariel School encounter remains one of the most well-documented mass UFO sightings in history, but there's still questions about the validity of that entire experience. There's been interviews conducted as recently as 2020. Witnesses like Salma Sadiq that I mentioned earlier and others recounted the event with clarity and conviction. And I believe that documentary or that series was on Netflix.
Yeah, it is on Netflix right now. It's called Encounters. Yeah.
Some of the children went on to careers in science, education, and the arts, while others preferred to avoid public scrutiny altogether. But none of them have recanted their story as of today, January 26, 2025. It's also worth noting that the Ariel School encounter wasn't an isolated incident. In the weeks leading up to it, there were numerous reports of strange lights in the skies over southern Africa. A sighting in Harar just days before described a similar metallic object hovering silently. And
Harar, I believe, is the capital of Zimbabwe.
It's the capital of Zimbabwe, yeah.
Okay.
And these reports add another layer of intrigue, suggesting that whatever the children witnessed that day may not have been confined to their playground. And that's our story. So now I'm going to hand it to you. If you have any other details you'd like to add, I'd like you to let's weigh in on whether you think it's a mostly true alien story or not.
Okay, so there's several things that are out there. This is interesting news. This is from the headmistress, who's been the headmistress at the school for 53 years. Okay. She said that she was abducted by aliens.
When?
Soon after. A week and a half after the event.
The headmistress was abducted.
The headmistress was visited by aliens. She said that they stuck a syringe in her belly button, and they talked to her and they asked her to come with them.
This is the
headmistress of the school, of the Ariel School. Colleen,
or whatever.
Yeah.
No.
So she said that, she said that she was visited by the aliens 3 different times, and each time they asked her to come with her, come with them to space. And she said no, because she said she was feeling horrible about how the kids were being treated and all of this.
You think maybe she was carrying a little bit of
guilt for how badly she treated the kids? Yeah, and these were just nightmares that she was having? Yeah. Yes, that's what I believe it is. Okay. Now, 2 kids came forward and said that they lied. But the incident never happened.
When did they come forward and say this? When?
I actually watched the documentary on Netflix.
Okay.
And 2 kids came forward. I later
as adults. As adults, they came forward.
As adults. But they said that they came forward a few years ago and said they were so scared that they had lied. And this was the kid that initially said that he saw the stuff. So according to him, he was going to have an exam in a class because they learn different languages in Zimbabwe. They don't just learn English. They learn some of the local tribal languages. And he was going to have a test that day in that language.
And he wanted to get out of it.
and he wanted to get out of the test.
No.
So him and his friend came up with this lie and said, "Oh my God, there's a ship by the ship."
So
And it was a rock.
started the lie and got everybody scared and worked up.
To believe it, yeah. And then there was another interesting fact is that there was a gardener that was out in the field where this rock was, that he described as a shiny rock that he claimed was the UFO, that had this huge piece of metal. And the shimmering of the metal is what they saw. And they saw him far away as the alien. So these are just the stories that have come out. Now, what's interesting is that I did some research looking at some stuff right here on John E. Mack. They wanted to.
So wait, Mack is
Mack is a psychiatrist, from Harvard.
He was renowned, and then he switches over to become this ufologist guy.
Yes.
Yeah.
Just so that you're aware, he had made the talk show circuit. He was on Maury Povich. He was on Oprah.
Because of this incident.
Because of other UFO incidences.
Right.
And then they brought him back. Right. They brought him back for this stuff. Okay. So he believed that something happened to these kids. He's not sure if it was a UFO thing, but he believes that something happened, which is what you were stressing in the story, that Mack believed that. That is 100% true. Now, where it gets weird is that he was killed by a drunk driver in London.
Really? When?
September 27th, 2024. He was struck by a drunk driver in London. They're thinking that the conspiracy is they killed him because he was onto something.
The government?
Whoever.
I think anybody that's in the researching UFO incidences or UAPs or any of these alien abductions, if they die, everyone's going to say that the government killed them.
Yeah.
I mean, they're going to die eventually.
Yeah.
Oh, he died of old age. The government got him.
Yeah. Well, here was the thing. He was killed by a drunk driver heading west on Totteridge Lane. He was walking home alone after dinner with friends when he was struck at 11:25 p.m.
In Africa.
In London. He lost consciousness at the scene of the crash and was pronounced dead shortly thereafter. The driver, Raymond Chickanowski, an IT manager, was arrested at the scene and later entered a plea of guilty to careless driving while under the influence of alcohol.
Did Raymond work for the government?
I think so.
You're just making.
I think so. I think he was a double agent.
Now you're spreading rumors.
Yeah. So there's also psychiatrists that believe that this was mass hysteria and that the kids actually believe it. They actually believe that they saw what they saw.
Okay. So all of this information that you're adding in, and after hearing this story.
Yeah. I don't believe they saw anything.
You don't think this is a mostly true alien story?
I think this is a mostly true story, but I don't think it's alien.
Yeah, so your take is that these two bully kids in school didn't want to take this test, and they essentially got the whole class riled up
to do it. Yeah,
yeah. They had their opportunity because there weren't teachers outside.
Here's the thing: if this headmistress, right, says that the headmistress of the school says that she was abducted, and they injected a thing into her belly button. Well, what was this thing? What did they inject in her? Where is it? Get an X-ray. Show me something.
You wanted more proof.
I want proof. Right.
Okay, so you think it's not a mostly true alien story?
I think it's hysterical. I think it's mass hysteria.
Okay, great. All right, my turn. So
that was so dismissive. It was like, yeah, you're just stupid.
Yeah, I'm a little disappointed in you.
You didn't even listen to my story.
Yeah.
What's wrong with you?
Yeah.
I hate you. Okay. I hate it here.
Well, you really, you were digging deep on the whole Mack murder thing. He just got.
Okay, now wait. I have one more theory.
Okay.
This is going to blow your mind.
Yeah.
What if they paid the two kids that are now denying it? What if they paid them money to keep them quiet, to come out now to get rid of the whole story? They just paid them.
To say it was a lie?
To say it was a lie.
You think like producers of Netflix were saying, hey, we need a little more.
No, I'm talking about them.
Government? You're still not saying who you're referring to. Government or aliens?
I am not allowed to talk about it. I told you.
Here's my thought.
I have signed so many NDAs. I don't even remember what I signed.
Yeah.
But they told me don't talk about it.
Yeah.
So we'll just call them.
Okay. Here's my thoughts on this whole incident. I think it's awfully hard to convince 62 other children or 60 other children to lie, right? To get everybody to, get worked up. Maybe, these kids were, what grades? Or like middle school, right?
6th grade. They were between 4th and 6th grade.
Yeah, so they're maybe the 4th graders would have you could scare them a little easier, but the old, the 5th and 6th graders, they're heading into more aware. And
You're still dealing with an adolescent brain though that's like non-functioning.
Sure, but you have one adolescent trying to. That's brilliance for them to be able to think of this whole idea and try to get everybody to have mass hysteria and really work this whole group up into this lather of
what was the message, man? Clean the planet. What? Pick up garbage.
But we don't know we actually don't know the background on her. It'd be interesting to find out. Maybe she's always had this alien affinity, right? So there was always some interest in the technology and aliens, et cetera, et cetera. So maybe there were times that, in her career with these kids and during the school year, there was talk of aliens or, there may have been an influence. May have been.
Maybe. Okay.
And then these kids may have latched onto it. These kids that wanted to get out of the tests. And then maybe they created this scenario. Maybe that's very plausible. But that's like Ocean's 11 planning right there. That's like, making everything come into play here. So I think that the kids did see something. I do believe that it's very hard to get a large group like this to come up with a story and stick to it all these years. I am amazed that the government didn't get involved, that there was no reports of anything, just local police, and then these psychiatrists came in and did that. I don't get that, but I don't understand the dynamics of maybe where the school was located and the reporting of it.
They're basically near looking at where the school is placed. They're near like a wildlife reservation.
Mm-hmm. They're in the middle of nowhere.
Maybe the circle of giraffes got together and decided,
let's scare the kids today.
Let's scare the kids today. Let's put on shiny outfits and let's scare them.
I think this is a mostly true alien story, and I believe that something did happen, the alien in nature. And I will tell you this, Andrew, right now, our listeners probably believe it's mostly true as well. So you are outnumbered. I'm telling you right now.
Okay, wait. Well, these were aliens that flew in a ship, landed 3 feet tall, dressed like something out of a Michael Jackson video of the 80s.
Yes.
And they said, clean your planet. That was the only message. And why were they scared to hear that? Think about it. Some of the kids were fearful, right? Some of the kids heard the message.
You have a daughter. I have children. Right. As adults, when they're little, how do we get them to not do something? We scare them.
So the aliens just came to scare these 60 children in Africa to clean the planet in the middle of nowhere, right? And so have these kids gone out and are they all environmental scientists now and they're cleaning the planet?
Well, maybe some of them have led to some change in life. It's the chain of events. Maybe that has we're put on a track to not just maybe they didn't make the difference, but how they led their life going forward after that incident influenced other people, and then so on and so forth, and then made us create the show. Somehow that made us create the show. I think it's mostly true alien story. Andrew does not.
I do not.
Yeah, but I think it was a good show. And Andrew, please take us out with that song again. Let's go.
Help Woodsy spread the word. Don't be a dirty bird. In the city or in the woods. Help keep America looking good. Give a hoot, don't pollute.
I love it. Till next time, folks. Mostly true alien story.
UFO sightings. Many Americans have wondered about